Several of our recent interviews have stressed the importance of place, and Gary Saunders deeply understands that. A Newfoundlander originally, he spent most of his adult life in Nova Scotia as a forester, an artist, an educator, and a writer in the tradition of Thoreau and Aldo Leopold. His most recent book is the award-winning My Life with Trees, a unique memoir of 30 chapters, each focused both on a particular species of tree and on his memories of people associated with that tree. Beautifully illustrated with Gary's own paintings and drawings, the book seamlessly blends science and memory in graceful and resonant prose. This is a man who profoundly understands what he calls reading the fingerprints of place. And you started it in a small community in a fairly basic corner of Newfoundland. How did you get from there to here?
I think the forester came because my father was a woodsman and a riverman, and missed the river when they were in New York in 27. They got married, my mother, and he in New York in 27. And then they went to Buffalo and he drove streetcar and plows and stuff. And I think just pined for Newfoundland, especially him. My mother was from Fogo, so it was a fishing community, but he was from the woods, the river and the woods. And so I thought I'd be a trapper and a riverman too. When I was 10, I was sure, I would. And I listened to the stories at night, they'd come in and talk to Dad about old people who couldn't do it anymore would ask about, what's the caribou like? Is there any sign of link they call it, lynx, and river otters and so on. And I'd hear all that. And then I realized I can't be a riverman. My mother wouldn't allow me anyway. She said, you don't want to be coming home, smelling a muskrat and wood smoke with your holes burned in your mitts and all that kind of stuff. I mean, she loved him, but she didn't love the river, not as much. She liked New York. And so when I realized from moving him back and forth that the river was fading farther away, and then there came a scholarship. The government realized from a Norwegian forester, he said, you have no native-born foresters. You should get a scholarship up and pick people who look, likely, and let people know about it, and then pick out some young students. So I was one of them. And I think that's the connection, woods, and I thought it would be woods all the time. When I got to be a forester, it would be woods. But my real bent was for education. Anything I found out, I wanted to tell someone, and I wanted to write about it so I could understand it.
You just remarked on you looked at the tree and you saw a story, you saw a history, you saw kind of a, I don't know, I'd say heroic, but you've got a single tree standing there, strong all by itself, very sturdy, very durable, and I think one of the things that charmed me about that was that I suspect that anybody who drives that highway regularly,
I think
sees
my wife
that
remembers
tree.
it.
Yeah,
and without my mentioning it.
Yeah. So tell me what you know about that tree.
Not very much. I went down and I said I talked to it. Well, I listened to it. I just wondered, where it came from, how it got to be there. Did some wise farmer say, my cows are, getting sunburned, so I better leave one? And maybe there was a stand there. So I just thought, for the tree, I guess I thought with the tree, how did you get here? What were you when I left the fence up by the highway to walk down? It was a little farther than I thought. What are you? And I thought, going down, it had the oak look. It could be white or red. And when I got there, it was red. It's very sturdy. And I mentioned the Hallmark study years ago. I always remember that in the 50s, I think. They did a study to see what's the favorite image for a card that would appeal to most people. It was a lone tree on a hilltop in the wind, or battered by life. And this one looks very sturdy and healthy.
And there are also tight relationships between species of animals and species of trees, right? There's a whole community there too, right?
There's one bird that preys on the jack pine sawfly, Kirtland warbler. Especially where it's pure stands. Ours are pure stands, a little bit in New Brunswick and more in Ontario and so on, but they're not really. But real big stands of jack pine, the Kirtland warbler is crucial to eat this sawfly, the larvae there. So that's one example. It's just a little bird this big. One bird can't do very much, but you know, a flock of birds traveling, constantly moving around, like chickadees you see here in our boreal, subboreal forest. You know, you see.
What do they do for a living?
They scour the bark, like you see them the other day. I heard, you know they're there, and then there's one. Oh, there's another one. There's another one. It's a family that feeds here in the winter on the seed, probably. They scour the apple tree, under the, picking little tiny beak, picking that flake of, and underneath there's an insect, egg or larva, eggs mostly. That's what they do. They clean house.
Gary Saunders, painter, forester, educator, author. Some of the others we've interviewed have a comparably deep relationship with particular places. Edmund Matachewaban, for example, on James Bay, or Santiago Manuel Valera, who defended his people's ancestral terrain in the Peruvian Amazon and took 8 bullets in the process. And here's an update. When we interviewed him in 2014, Santiago was facing charges of instigation of homicide, but in 2016 he was acquitted. Commitment to place? 8 bullets? Oh yeah. For the Green Interview, I'm Silver Donald Cameron.